Theruvan Sarnai. Let's discuss something important today. Something very important. I think you all want to change the world. At least you wanted to change the world. You wanted to change the universe. Or we can use another name. You wanted to change nature. Can you? Can you change nature? But we can see people cut down trees and destroy forests. Then they create industrial areas and they build skyscrapers. They change nature. Don't you think so? They change nature. That's how people think, ladies and gentlemen. People think that they can change nature. That's why they try to do it. But as per my understanding, no one can change nature. Because whatever you build, whatever you deal with, that's nature. You can't change it. But the problem is, the mind wants to change the world. The mind wants to change nature. Because the mind is vexed. We need to find out about the reason why the mind is vexed. If we have that reason, we can find a solution. Why the mind wants to change the universe or nature? We thought that we can. We changed. We created new things. And normally we use a word called artificial. Nothing is artificial in this world. Everything is natural. Everything is natural. You can't create any artificial thing, anything which is artificial. Everything is natural. Everything is nature. Let's talk about that. Let's learn about that. To discuss about it, we need to go through some views that people have. There are 3 wrong views. Apart from that, there are many. But there are 3 main wrong views. The Buddha named them Nicca, Sukha, and Atta. Nicca, Sukha, Atta. I'm going to use these names, but we will understand the English meaning of that. Nicca. The ignorant mind believes that energy is biased to create something. But energy is natural. Energy is natural, not natural actually. Energy is neutral. It doesn't create anything. It doesn't have a tendency to create anything, to build anything. Energy is neutral. But the ignorant mind believes that energy has a tendency to create something. It thinks that it's biased. If energy has a tendency to create something, then the energy can create an entity. That's the second thing. The Buddha named it as Sukha, for that entity. If this is an entity, this is fixed, and you can't use this to create any other thing. This is fixed. You can't take its parts. It doesn't have parts. It is fixed. It's not like this table. This table has 4 legs, and those 4 legs are fixed into this table. But Sukha means you can't find parts of that. You have only one thing. It is fixed. It doesn't have components. It is not a compound. I'm going to use many words until you find some word. It is not a compound. It is like an element, but not in chemistry element. In chemistry, we use element, but element means sodium is an element, and sodium is made up of some electrons, protons, and neutrons. Therefore, it's not an element actually. But if you get the meaning of an element, that is called Sukha. But nothing is an element in this world, but the ignorant mind believes that everything is an element. In that case, don't take, that is the smallest part or the primary part. Don't take that, but take the opposite word of compound. Take that. When we take a compound, it has many parts in it. I can write a compound, sodium chlorate. This has many parts. Sodium atom, and sodium atom, and a chlorine atom, and 3 oxygen atoms. Therefore, this is a compound. But when you take a sodium atom, now this is an element because it doesn't have any parts in it. This is called Sukha. But now you can see, we can't find any Sukhas in this world. We only find Dukkha's. Dukkha is not mental suffering. We only find Dukkha's. Here, if you take sodium, it's also a Dukkha. It is made up of something. It is made up of some causes. There are some causes in it. But if you take a Sukha, it doesn't have causes. It acts as a whole. It's really difficult for me to find a Sinhalese word for that because it doesn't exist. I can't find any example for that. Even sodium, I can't find because sodium is not an element actually. It is a compound. But not in chemistry. In the reality, sodium is a compound because it has electrons, protons, and neutrons. But if you take an electron, it is also a compound again. It is made up of something. It is made up of energy, ladies and gentlemen. The Buddha said, and Buddha discovered that energy doesn't have a tendency to create anything. It is not biased to create anything. It is neutral. But the ignorant mind doesn't know that. The ignorant mind believes that it is biased. It is biased and it has a tendency to create something. If it has a tendency to create something, then sukhas will be created. That means entities will be created. If you find an entity, it is so special because it is an entity. It is separated from other things. And if you believe that this is an entity, then automatically something comes to your mind and you believe that this is separated from something and this is unique because this is an entity. Your business is an entity. Therefore, you don't have any connection with other businesses. It is completely separated. It is an entity. This monastery is an entity. This has its own values. If something is an entity, it's so special and unique. That is called Atta. Then the ignorant mind believes that everything is Nitya, Sukha, and Atta. Actually, if something is Nitya, it should be Sukha as well. Because if energy is Nitya, it has a natural tendency to create something. It is not neutral anymore. If it is Nitya, then if it has a natural tendency or if it is biased to create something, then something will be created. Something will be created, but not because of causes. And it will be one whole object. That's how we feel, actually, essentially. That's how we perceive. I can't say that that's how we see. That's how we perceive. You see the world correctly, ladies and gentlemen, but you perceive it wrongly. Your eyes never deceive you. Your mind deceives you. But the problem is, you can't just see. When you see, you perceive. Therefore, you can't see the truth. Because you had to live with wrong perceptions. That's the reason we are gathered here. Actually, we are going to purify our mind and understand the truth. When you understand the truth, then you will see the reality. How can you see the reality? Then you will perceive everything correctly. But if you think that everything is Nitya, then everything should be Sukha. Then everything should be Atta. Then the ignorant mind believes so, therefore the ignorant mind expects it. Whatever you want to perceive or whatever you want to see or experience, first of all, a conceptual object is created in your mind. Like when I say a pen. When I say a pen, then a pen is created in your mind, but it is conceptual. Can you see a pen now? You can't see, but you know that. You know, like when I say, I'm going to show you a pen, look. Then what do you think? Huh? Then you don't agree with this because you know that this is not a pen. How do you know that? How do you know that this is not a pen? Because a pen was created in your mind first, but you didn't see it because it is conceptual. It was conceptual, therefore you couldn't see it, but you know the pen I was talking about all the time. When I ask you a delicious meal, something, a vegetable curry, then that is created in your mind. Pancake, then it is created in your mind. then I can't give you pudding, then you will recognize that. When I say pudding, then it is created in your mind. When it is created in your mind, due to ignorance, Nitya Sukha Atta is also applied into that. Therefore, the mind expects Nitya Sukha Atta object to experience. Here, the object is not the problem. Conceptual object is not the problem. That comes from your memory, ladies and gentlemen. Even an arahant can experience that. Otherwise, if you show something to an arahant, the arahant doesn't know about that. A pen, then he says, what? This is a pen. Okay, then I'll remember that. No, it's not happen like that. Actually, an arahant also knows about this pen. When you say a pen, then a conceptual or mental image is created in the mind. I can let you make it. A flower, a rose, a gun, a ship, an aeroplane. When I tell these things, that mental images are created in your mind. But the problem is when those things are created, you feel something different. You feel something different. When I say a ship, an aeroplane, then you feel that a ship is Atta. That is mean it is so special. It is completely separated from an aeroplane. Don't you feel that? When you heard the name, that mental image was created and you felt that it is completely separated from the other object. Therefore, when I name 10 things, then you will realize that all those 10 things are completely separated from each other. That is Atta Sanya. That's how you have been practicing, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, whatever I tell you, any object, any person, like when I talk about your mother, when I talk about your father, then you feel that, oh, mother and father, you got their images and you knew that they are completely two separated people. They are entities. They are entities and they are separated and they are so special. Mother, father, they are special. Because you can't make, that's how you feel, you can't make your father out of your mother. But you can make your father out of a chicken. Let me, like a piece of chicken, let's say. Can't you? Can't you? A carrot? Can't you make your father out of a carrot? You can. You did. You cooked for him and he ate and here he is. You can find carrot, cabbage and all this. If he's vegetarian, you will only find vegetarian things. Then why do you think that you can't make your father out of your mother? If you let him eat. But the thing is, when we talk about your father, your mother, and you feel that they are completely separated. When you talk about these two pens, you think that these two pens are completely separated, but you know that this is made up of plastic, and this is also made up of plastic, and all these two are completely the same. But you don't feel that way, you don't perceive it that way, because you strongly believe that, because you have been practicing this for eons. Therefore, you strongly believe that everything is Nitya Sukha Atta. Therefore, when you identify something, when you perceive something, automatically those views are applied. Therefore, you can't find any object in this world that you cannot say that it is not an entity. Everything you feel, everything you perceive is an entity. But the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, not the problem actually, the truth is, the reality is, nothing is an entity in this world because everything is anicca. Everything is anicca means the energy is not biased. And energy doesn't have a natural tendency or any tendency to create something. Therefore, you can't find any objects in this world. When I say objects, be careful. Objects mean any fixed objects, any fixed shapes. You can't find them. But you can see a shape. You think that it is fixed because you can't perceive the truth. But you can see the truth. You can see the truth, but you can't use those data, ladies and gentlemen, because your mind is ignorant. Therefore, you can't see the truth, you can't see the world, you can't see the reality of the world. Therefore, I can surely say that you haven't seen the world yet. I'm really sorry to say that. Because you can't. You can't see the reality because the ignorant mind always deceives you. When you see these flowers, you will see only colors, ladies and gentlemen. You will see only colors. When you see colors, because of different colors, shapes are created in your mind. That's fine. Shapes are created in your mind. That's not ignorance. Shapes are created in your mind. That's here I would say. Now you can only see a white color background. Now this is a flower. How do you know? Is it not a flower? Okay. I got these skills from Leonardo da Vinci. Can you see a flower here? Tell me the truth, ladies and gentlemen. What can you see? You are reading your mind. I'm asking, what can you see? You can see this blue color, ladies and gentlemen. When you see this blue color, and you can see this white color as well. When you will see white color and blue color, then you can see a shape. When you see that shape with your wrong views, you take a flower out of this and you perceive it as Nicca, Sukha, Atta flower. You can't stop that. This flower is created in your mind, but it's not a flower, ladies and gentlemen. Something is created. Something is created. That's why we had to say something is created and you named it. That's also fine. You can name it. Naming it is not ignorance. You can name it. You can use it. But the problem is, this is not unique. This is not special because this is not an object. This is an effect. When I say this is not an object, I didn't mean that nothing is there. I meant that this is not fixed. It is only an effect. This appears due to causes. This appears due to causes. You can only find the causes here, ladies and gentlemen. You can't find the effect. Effect appears. Effect manifests. This effect manifests due to causes. Therefore, you can't find any sukha here. This is not a sukha. This is not a sukha. This is an effect. Therefore, this is a dukkha. This is a dukkha. If this is a dukkha, nothing is special here. If this is a dukkha means it is an effect. If it is an effect, it doesn't have any special attributes. It is the same with others. This one. 1 and 2. This is not special. What about this then? Then 2 and 1 are used the same thing. What is the difference between these two? Tell me that. If this is sukha, let's understand this properly. Actually, we need to understand ignorance as well. The Buddha said that when you understand ignorance, you will be enlightened. Let's understand ignorance as well. Nitya sukha atta. Otherwise, we believe that, we practice it, but we don't know about it. Let's understand it first. Now, if this is sukha, this is an entity. This is separated from this. Because it is sukha. You can't use this for anything. If this one and this one, both of them are sukha, you can't use this number to create this number because this is a sukha. It is fixed. You can't use it for any other thing. It has its own attributes, own characteristics. It is sukha. And this has its own characteristics. It has its own attributes. Therefore, it is also sukha. Now, you can't use this number to create this number. You can't use this number to create this number. Therefore, these two are completely different. But in the reality, you know that you can use 12 to create 21. Because 12 is not 12. It is 1 and 2. 12 is a manifestation. 12 is an effect. It's only an effect. It is not fixed. It doesn't have its own characteristics. But when you create 12 as atta, now it is separated and it is unique. When it is unique, you can't use it for any other thing. If you make it fixed, but we can use 12 to create 21. We can use 21 to create 12. Because these numbers are not fixed. But in your mind, you will make them a sukha. Then you feel that 21 is sukha. Therefore, you can't use 21 to create 12. Then you believe that these two numbers are so special. That's how your mind perceives, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, you can't see the truth. The truth is, this number is an effect. Therefore, they don't have any special characteristics. When you make it fixed, now it has a characteristic, a different characteristic or special characteristic, then you can say that 12, that is 12. Because you made it an entity. Now it's 12. Now you can't use it to create other numbers. This is how it is. If you make this pen fixed, then what will happen? Now you can't use this to create any other thing. But if this is made up of atoms, we have few atoms now. Yeah, atoms. Hydrogen and carbon atoms. Let's say hydrogen and carbon atoms. Now we are going to create a pen. We put hydrogen carbon atom. We put, this is pen, okay? Right? Then we created a pen. If you make it fixed, if you make it an entity, now you can't use it for anything. But if it is not an entity, if it is only an effect, then can't you make this out of this? Actually, we can't say out of this. If we say out of this, that means this is fixed and we are going to take few parts of it and create this one. No, this is energy. And this is also energy. We can create this one from this. Again, I had to say from, otherwise it doesn't make any sense in English. Here, this is an effect. Therefore, if we want, we can create the duster. Now, in this case, tell me, which one is so special here? Can you remember something called building blocks? We used to play in our childhood. There are small pieces. You can use those pieces to create a bicycle. And you know that it is anicca. It is anicca because those small pieces are neutral. If you want, you can ask them, what do you want to be a part of? What do you want to be part of? You can ask, but then those pieces will say that, no, I don't want to make anything. I don't want to be a part of anything. I'm neutral. Then what do you do? Well, normally, what do you do then? Then you have your own ideas. You have your own shapes that you believe that they are fixed and special. Therefore, you use extra forces or any force. Then you use that force and you make them together. You unify them and you create something. You create a bicycle, you create a car, you create a train. But still, now a piece, let's say a specific piece, then that piece is in a train now. It is fixed into a train. But if you ask that, do you really want to be a part of this? What would it say? It says, no, still I'm neutral. Therefore, you have to apply or keep applying the force to keep them together. Even though you keep applying the force continuously, they are anicca. Therefore, you have to do it forever if you want to make that shape. In that case, you should understand that it is an effect. It is not fixed. It is an effect. You have to apply the force to keep it as it is. When they are in their positions, you can see or you can experience an object. But that object is not fixed. It's not an entity. It is an effect. It is made up of those small particles or small parts. Now can you understand dukkha and sukha? Then when you make a train by using those pieces, you don't feel that it's so special because you can see those colors. There are different colors because it's for kids. Therefore, you can see it is made up of those pieces. Therefore, you don't believe that it is fixed and it is so special. But when you see a real train, how do you feel? But some of you are engineers, ladies and gentlemen. You know how a train is built. Hmm? You know that, but still you believe that, oh, it's a train, it's so different and so special. Are there any special atoms called train atoms we can use only to build trains? No, ladies and gentlemen. Train atoms, train electrons, train protons. No. Everything is the same. But the ignorant mind doesn't believe it. That's why we are going to teach it, the truth. But I'll show you what happens. When the mind is ignorant, the mind believes that everything is Nitya, Sukha and Atta. Therefore, when the mind wants to experience something, a mental image is created, but those views are applied into that. Therefore, the mind wants to experience Nitya, Sukha, Atta, something. The object doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen. Don't think about the object, because an arahant also experienced the object. The problem is in Nitya, Sukha, Atta. The mind wants to experience Nitya, Sukha, Atta something. When the mind wants to experience something and it believes that it is Nitya, Sukha, Atta, attachment is created. That means the mind gets attached to it, to that Nitya, Sukha, Atta object. The mind gets attached because of Nitya, Sukha, Atta views. Because the mind wants to experience Nitya, Sukha, Atta, not the object. Again, the mind wants to experience Nitya, Sukha, Atta, because it strongly believes that everything is Nitya, Sukha, Atta. If you strongly believe something, you always want to experience it. When if you know that something exists according to what you thought, then definitely you get attached to it. Likewise, the mind strongly believes that everything is Nitya, Sukha, Atta. Therefore, the mind wants to experience it. Therefore, the mind gets attached to those views. Therefore, when you want to experience something, a pen or an aeroplane, whatever, then a mental image is created with those views, and the mind gets attached to those views. Now, the mind wants to experience Nitya, Sukha, Atta, something. And Nitya, Sukha, Atta, I would use this as an adjective, Nitya, Sukha, Atta, big adjective. And then the mind wants to experience, a Nitya, Sukha, Atta aeroplane. It wants to experience a Nitya, Sukha, Atta flower. Or does it want to experience a flower? No. It wants to experience a Nitya, Sukha, Atta flower. Okay? Now I'm going to show you that whatever you have acquired or achieved is useless. You will still suffer. Or you will suffer forever if you don't understand this. Every day I will prove something. You have to make the decision. You have to change your life. That's it. I'll show you the path. Okay, I can be your lighthouse, but you have to be your own ship. You have to be the captain. When you see the lighthouse, then if you want, you can go to the other side. Let's say, if the mind wants to experience a Nitya Sukha Artha flower, the mind gets attached to it, then the mind wants to experience that. But the problem is, the mind can't experience anything, ladies and gentlemen, because the mind is completely internal. It can't experience external things. When it wants to experience something, it uses something called indriya, these sense organs. There are 6 sensory organs, essentially. Then the mind wants to use one of them. Why? Because the mind wants to come out of vexation. Why? When the mind gets attached to Nitya Sukha Artha, that object, then the mind is vexed. Remember this, vexation occurs due to attachment. It doesn't depend on what is the object you got attached. When the attachment is created, vexation is created. Cause of vexation is attachment, not the object. Now, the mind got attached to that. Therefore, vexation is created. Now, the mind wants to come out of vexation. When the mind wants to come out of vexation, the mind uses one of those 6 sensory organs. Let's assume that the mind uses eyes. That means now the mind can see something. Now the mind experiences it. The mind can see something. Now here, due to ignorance, attachment was created. Due to attachment, vexation was created. Now the mind is vexed. Now the mind wants to come out of vexation. To come out of vexation, it has to use those 6 sensory organs, one of those 6. Then it uses one. When it uses one, it can experience that object. Now it can see. When it can see, can it be satisfied? It can see it, but can it be satisfied? This is the point you must understand. Can it see? It can see, actually. It can see, but can it be satisfied? It can see a flower now. Okay. It can see a flower. Okay. Can it be satisfied? It wanted to see, or it wanted to experience a flower. Is that correct? It wanted to, well, I'll tell a sentence. It wanted to experience a flower. Is that correct? What did it want? A flower? Or can you remember the adjective we use? Nitya Sukha Artha flower. It wanted to experience a Nitya Sukha Artha flower. But now, a flower manifested. Oh, now it can experience a flower. Can it be satisfied? Can it be satisfied? No, ladies and gentlemen, because this is not Nitya Sukha Artha flower. This is Anicca Dukkha Anatta flower. Because this came to the mind through eyes. Eyes can't deceive you. Eyes will see the truth. When you see my face, your eyes will see only colors. Your mind will create a human being and Guru Hamdru. Can you see Guru Hamdru here? Can you see Guru Hamdru? If Guru Hamdru is a color, you can see, yes. Can you see Guru Hamdru? No. You only see colors. Eyes only can see colors, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, now the mind uses, or the mind used eyes and got a picture. But it is not Nitya Sukhatta, it is Anicca Dukkha Anatta, because this is the reality of the world. If everything is Anicca Dukkha Anatta, you can't find anything Nitya Sukhatta. This is not Nitya Sukhatta. Therefore, the mind can't be satisfied, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, vexation increases, and there is a safety mechanism called Abhisankara. Abhisankara mechanism is activated. Then, because of that Abhisankara, because Abhisankara mechanism is activated due to this vexation. Now, that mechanism is going to get rid of vexation. To get rid of vexation, let's assume that you wanted something and you are vexed now. To get rid of that vexation, what can we do? You are already vexed. Let's assume that you are already vexed. Now, we want to get rid of vexation. Now, what can we do? We have to supply whatever you want. Perhaps we have to supply the real object. Otherwise, we have to deceive you. In this case, nature is always Anicca Dukkha Anatta. Therefore, nature doesn't help your mind. Therefore, that safety mechanism activated and let the mind perceive Nitya Sukha Atta. Because this is already manifested. Therefore, this already manifested. Therefore, nature doesn't have to manifest this or create this. It is already there now. Abhisankara occurs and let the mind perceive Nitya Sukha Atta, because that's the part the mind didn't get so far. But that's the part the mind wanted. This is not enough because the mind didn't expect only this. It wanted to experience Nitya Sukha Atta as well. Therefore, now, because of Abhisankara, the safety mechanism of the mind is activated and it creates, or it let the mind experience Nitya Sukha Atta. Then Nitya Sukha Atta is applied into this flower as well as into the mind itself. This is a great point to understand, ladies and gentlemen. When you understand that, you will see how you suffer and how the ego is created, why you are suffering and all these things. You will realize all these things if you can understand this small thing. This is small, but this is the essence. Again, the mind wanted to see a Nitya Sukha Atta flower then the mind got attached to that mental image, but Nicca Sukha Atta, then it was vexed due to attachment. It was vexed. Now it wanted to come out of vexation. Then it used one of those sensory organs. Now a flower manifested in the mind. That's also fine, but that's not enough. Mind is still vexed. Why? The mind wanted a Nicca Sukha Atta flower, but now the mind got only a flower. Therefore, the mind is still vexed, and the vexation increases. Because of that, a safety mechanism is, or the safety mechanism is activated. There is a safety mechanism called abhisankara. Now, abhisankara occurs. When abhisankara occurs, the mind starts to feel Nicca Sukha Atta. Then that Nicca Sukha Atta is applied onto this as well as to itself. Therefore, you see Nicca Sukha Atta flower. See means actually you perceive. You perceive Nicca Sukha Atta flower as well as the ego. The ego is nothing but the mind, ladies and gentlemen. The mind, but Nicca Sukha Atta mind. That's why you feel you are separated, you are unique. You perceive that you are unique. Yeah? You perceive that you are unique. You are unique. How do you perceive? What do you use to perceive? This? Or your body? Or yourself? What do you use to perceive? You use your mind to perceive. Yes or no? Perception occurs in the mind, ladies and gentlemen. Then you feel your existence, or you perceive your existence. That means you use your mind to perceive your existence. Therefore, when you feel that you are separated and you are a separate person, that means actually the mind is separated from others. That's how you feel yourself. That's your mind. That's not you. There is no such thing called you or I. Actually, that is the mind. The mind perceives that it's an entity. That's called self. Then it perceives itself as an entity due to this process. It wanted to perceive Nicca Sukha Atta, but nature doesn't allow, because nature is anicca dukkha anatta. Now finally vexation increases and the safety mechanism is activated. Then it perceives. It means, or you perceive or it perceives. There is no such thing called you, ladies and gentlemen. This is only the mind. But accidentally, or most of the time, I also use I, because this is how we used to talk, ladies and gentlemen. Without using these things, we can't talk. Therefore, each time when I say I and you and the things, don't take it into the Dhamma. Just take it to the talk. This is only the mind. You have your body, again, you have your body. When I say you have your body, leave that you part. There is a body, then you can't understand. There is a body, okay. Therefore, now I would say, you have a body, and you have a mind. That's it. Apart from your body and the mind, you don't have any other thing. That means actually you don't have yourself. You don't have yourself. Try to understand that. That's only the mind. You perceive everything with the mind or using the mind. Yeah? Right. Now, in this case, now the mind wanted Nitya Sukhatha or to experience Nitya Sukhatha. Now, because of Abhisankara, now it can perceive Nitya Sukhatha because of Abhisankara. It never happened naturally, ladies and gentlemen. It is an illusion. It is an illusion because that is the purpose of the safety mechanism. When the safety mechanism is activated, the safety mechanism shows or let experience whatever the mind wants. That's how someone can be insane, ladies and gentlemen. If you lost something you loved so much, and perhaps you can't experience it anymore. When you can't experience it anymore, vexation increases, and when the safety mechanism is activated, it's forever, ladies and gentlemen. Then you will be mad forever. You will be a lunatic forever. Then you will see a baby out of this. But now you can see a pen out of this, then it is not a wonder. Can't you see a pen out of this? This is a pen now, eh? But this is not a pen. This is but you have created a pen out of this, ladies and gentlemen. That's a mental perception. Then can't you create a baby out of this? But if you create a baby out of this, people will say that you are a lunatic. But when you create a pen out of this, no one says that, because everybody perceives it as it is. Everybody perceives this as a pen. Therefore, when everybody is mad, no one is mad. When everyone is mad, no one is mad. Try to understand that. This is only a body and the mind. But you see a monk, you see Guru Hamduru. Look, you are not mad. You are not mad because no one is mad. That's the reason. Let's go back to this now. Now you can see, because of that safety mechanism led the mind to perceive whatever it wanted. But it's an illusion. Because nature doesn't help. Because nature is anicca dukkha anatta. Nature is not nitya sukhatha. Therefore, nature can't help. Then, nitya sukhatha is applied to the flower. That's the reason you perceive this flower as nitya sukha atta flower. As a nitya sukha atta flower. Don't you feel that these things are nitya sukha? Don't you feel that these flowers are separated and actually these flowers are artificial flowers? Let's take that word now. Artificial flowers, and you know how they are made. That is the same piece of cloth and different dyes. They use different colors. That's it. But when you see them, can you imagine how unconscious you are? But the fainted unconscious I'm talking about, how unconscious you are. You know this. Even though you know this, you perceive these things as completely separated and unique things. The reason is this. When the illusory nitya sukha atta is applied into the flower as well as to the mind, the mind perceives itself as an entity. The flower is also as an entity. That's why whatever you experience nitya sukha atta object. This adjective is too long, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, I always forget to put a in front of that. Anicca sukha object. You always perceive anicca sukha object. This is the reason. And you always perceive yourself because this is the reason. Now when you perceive yourself, which means when the ego is created, you know what happened. Now you think that you are a being, and you think that you are a human being, and you think that you are a human man and human woman. And after that, you think that you are a mother and you are a father and you are a businessman or you are a businesswoman. You are an engineer, you are a doctor, you are a principal, whoever. You have kids, all these things. You perceive all these things. You mean the mind perceives all these things. Can you imagine that the mind has kids? How many kids do you have? That makes sense. That makes sense when I say, how many kids do you have? But if I ask, how many kids? How many kids does the mind have? Now you don't have an answer, then you think, what? It's not applicable. Of course, it's not applicable, but you apply it all the time. It happened because of this reason. You can't stop this, ladies and gentlemen, because nature doesn't help. That's why at the beginning I told you, I asked a question. Now tell me the answer. Can you change nature? Changing nature is different, ladies and gentlemen. Changing nature means keeping this pen from here to there, or moving from here to there. That is not changing nature. Because if this is nature, when it was here, this is nature. And when I take it to this point, then this is also nature. We didn't change nature. You can cut down trees. You can build a mansion there. That's also nature. Before it was a forest. Now it's a house. Whatever. Both of them are nature, they said. You didn't change nature. You go to a mirror and you see that, oh, this face is so ugly today. Then you think like that. Then you take your makeup set and you apply something and oh, this is nice. What about the last thing? Wasn't it nature? That was nature. And your current face, that's also nature. Your young face, that's nature. Now your old face, that's nature. You can't change nature by using a makeup set, ladies and gentlemen. You can't change nature by cutting down trees. You can't change nature. If you want to change nature, you have to change its characteristics. It has 3 main characteristics. If you want to change it, you have to change those characteristics. What are the characteristics? Anicca, dukkha, anatta. If you can change those characteristics, now you can change nature. That's the only way you can change nature. Now tell me, can you do that? You can't. Then if you can't change nature, ladies and gentlemen, how can you survive? Luckily, you have the safety mechanism, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't have that safety mechanism, actually, you will be destroyed because that vexation. You can't control vexation. You can't control vexation. Therefore, you will be destroyed. But now luckily you have the safety mechanism. Then you will experience Nitya Sukhat. But the thing is, it has a side effect. Now you experience Nitya Sukhat, the flower, Nitya Sukhat, the flower, and yourself. When you experience the ego, now you experience suffering and fear because you have the past, the present, and the future. You have to live in the past always. Everything happens in the present, but you have to live in the past and future. When you live in the past, you have regrets. When you live in the present, you have fear. When the ego is created, it needs the environment. We have been talking about this a lot. It needs the environment of time. It lives in time. The past, the present, and the future. It needs that. Therefore, when the ego is created, it creates all three times. That's why you experience all three times and you think that you are a being and you live in these three times. That's why you experience your past. That's why you think that in the future I'll do this and that. You actually, you feel that the future exists. Therefore, some people want to do time traveling. They want to do that. Sometimes they think that it is possible. They are talking about time traveling, essentially. Because they strongly believe that the future exists and the past existed. When they can travel through time. When the ego is created, it happens. The ego experiences all three times. Therefore, the ego has to live in these three times. That's why you suffer. That's why you are frightened. That's why you have expectations. That's why you are restless. That's why you are so busy. That's why you have to earn a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. You have to earn a lot of money because you have a future. When I got ordained, I was so free because I didn't have any expectation in the future, ladies and gentlemen. Because I didn't have to build a character. I didn't have to build anything. But actually, if a father comes to the monastery and become a monk, I think he feels he experiences that more than me. Because when you have children, you have to make a bright future for them. You have to earn how much? How much? You have experienced all these things. You have to earn. Oh, this is not enough for our kids. That's how you always feel. Therefore, you earn. But when you got ordained, you won't have that. Because you became a free person. I don't have any expectation, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, I don't have a fear. Even so, someone can threaten me. Someone can tell that we are going to ban this temple, this monastery. Then I will say, so be it. Because you can't steal my sila, my virtues. You can't steal my samadhi. You can't steal my prajna. You can't take my wisdom. You can destroy this Dhamma hole. Then go for it. Stop whatever you want. You can steal my future, but you can't steal my present, because the present is always with me. You can steal my future. It doesn't matter for me, because I don't believe in future. It doesn't exist, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, anyone can steal it, anyone can take it. If someone says, I will kill you tomorrow, oh, that's fine. I'm going to kill you. Oh, that's also future. I'm killing you. Oh, don't do that. When someone says, I'm killing you, now I had to say, please don't do that. If someone says, I will kill you, okay, go for it. I will kill you. That's in the future. Why should I be afraid right now? Because it's in the future. It's in the future. I mean, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, but if you can understand this, remember this, if you can understand this, if you can understand the great Dhamma, then you will realize that the future is an illusion. Then he will come in an illusory world. He will come to the illusory world and he will kill you. That's fine. He can't touch your body. To kill you, he has to touch your body. In the future, you can't touch your body unless you travel through time. At that time, please don't travel. But the problem is, if someone threats you, then definitely you will be afraid. Because the ego feels that he's going to destroy all your expectations. Then the ego feels that, I won't be able to acquire many things, acquire things that I wanted. I won't be able to see, I won't be able to experience the world. That's why you are frightened at that time, because of the ego. Now you can see how the ego is created. Now you can see how you experience a Nitya Sukha object. Not through eyes, but through the mind. Due to Abhisankara. That's why the Buddha asks us to destroy Abhisankara, ladies and gentlemen. Abhisankara has another name, that is called karma. Karma. When Abhisankara occurs, karma occurs. When karma occurs, it has a vipaka. Abhisankara occurs due to vexation. Then if your mind is vexed, now Abhisankara, which means the safety mechanism, is activated. Right. Now, the mind is vexed because of attachment. Attachment is created due to ignorance. Then we need to eradicate ignorance. Then what is ignorance? Nitya Sukha Atta. When the universe is anicca, the mind observes it as nitya, that is ignorance. When the universe is dukkha, the mind observes it as sukha. That is also ignorance. When the universe or nature, we can say, is anatta, and the mind observes it as atta, that is ignorance. Therefore, now you can do one of these two things. Either change the world, which is impossible, but you are really good at that. You have been trying. You have been trying, and you think that you are a successful person. Don't you think that? You think that you are a successful person because I have money, I have kids, I have wealth, I have everything, I have everything, I have everything. Because you think that you have successfully changed the universe. But I'm telling you, you can't touch the universe, ladies and gentlemen. It is divine. If you can't experience, at least, it is divine. If you want to experience the universe, you have to be the universe. If you want to experience nature, you have to be nature. Only nature can experience nature. How to be nature? Actually, you are nature, ladies and gentlemen. Your body is nature, your mind is nature. The ego is not nature. The ego is, I don't know, what is it? This is an illusion anyway. This is not nature. This is not natural, and this is not nature. This is an illusion. But your body is nature. Your mind is nature. Therefore, if you use your mind to perceive, then you should perceive nature. But the problem is, due to those views, those wrong views, your mind is defiled. That's why we need to practice the truth and save the mind, protect the mind. Then, what can we do to practice this? We have discussed a lot, but what can we practice now? Did you find the point that need to be addressed? Where's the point? You can't eradicate this. You can't eradicate this because you see that you can't eradicate vexation. You can't eradicate attachment. The only point is ignorance. Either you have to change nature, otherwise you have to change yourself. Yourself means actually not yourself. You have to change your views. That's it. Don't ever challenge nature, ladies and gentlemen. You can't win. Again, when I say don't ever challenge nature, yes, I also tell the same thing. I tell people don't cut down trees. Why are you talking about trees when I say nature, ladies and gentlemen? You talk about trees, waterfalls, wild animals. When I talk about nature, you should talk about plastic. Plastic. But because you have something in your mind, you think that this is not natural, this is artificial. When you use your intelligence, you say that it's natural intelligence. But when you use computer, then it is artificial intelligence. Because you use that word all the time. When a human being creates something, you always believe that it is artificial. Therefore, these flowers are artificial. If we use flowers, natural flowers, I also have to use these words now. If we use natural flowers, we dry them and we make papers out of them, and we create flowers. This type of artificial flowers. Now tell me, are they artificial or natural? Did you get what I meant? Are they artificial or natural? They are natural. What about this? This is cloth, ladies and gentlemen. This is a cloth. Then it is natural. Then this is you can create plastic out of crude oil. Crude oil is natural. Crude oil is created by fossil fuels. It is a fossil fuel, fossils. That means animal's body. If your body is natural, then why don't you think that this is natural? Everything is natural in this world. You can't change it. Everything is natural. You just need to accept it, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I told you, don't challenge nature. You can't win because nature has its own characteristics. They are fixed. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. That's the reason the Buddha came to this world. Only the Buddha can discover this, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we are so lucky. We are so lucky to have the Buddha. We became his disciples. You can't just become the Buddha's disciple by saying Buddham saranam gacchami. You need to understand the truth. You need to use the Dhamma, his doctrine about nature. That's it. He didn't invent anything. He discovered natural characteristics, nature's characteristics, attributes. That's it. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. You only need that to attain Nibbana. That's why we always ask you to practice anicca, dukkha, anatta. That's it. Try to understand about nicca, sukha, atta as well, but don't practice. Actually, when I say don't practice, I don't have to say that because you always practice. You have been practicing it, therefore you can't stop practicing it. If you can understand anicca, dukkha, anatta, now you have to force yourself to practice. Therefore, now let's talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta. When I say now let's talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta, what did you do in our last sermon? We talked about anicca, dukkha, anatta. We have been talking about anicca, dukkha, anatta since I think I ordained. Not that, even before. Perhaps some people think that, these monks only know anicca, dukkha, anatta. They don't talk about paticca samuppada. They don't talk about chaturarya satya. Why? The Buddha came to this world to show us anicca, dukkha, anatta. The Buddha came to the world to discover anicca, dukkha, anatta because that is the rarest thing. Rarest meaning actually no one can see that. Only the enlightened one can see that. If you want to experience it, if you want to see anicca, dukkha, anatta, those characteristics in nature, you have to be enlightened. You have to be the enlightened one. But now we can use like F equals ma. We can use F equals ma. We can apply it to many questions and we can be scientists finally. But if someone asks you to invent that, discover that, it is so difficult, essentially. The Buddha discovered it. And actually, now we need to practice. We need to understand, realize, and practice. That's the part we have to do. We don't have to discover it. We don't have to arrange it in an order. The Buddha has done all these things. Now what we need is understand it, realize it, and practice. Okay. Now, anicca. What is anicca? Simply we will say, everything is natural. Everything is natural. That means energy. We are talking, this is energy. this is energy. We always talk about that this entire universe is energy. I can't say that it consists of energy. Actually, if I say this consists of energy, it means this exists and it has energy. Therefore, I had to say this is energy. This is energy. This is electrons, protons, neutrons. Electrons, protons, neutrons are energy. Then this is energy. This is electrons, protons, neutrons. I don't want to say that this is made up of electrons, protons, neutrons. This is electrons, protons, neutrons, and electrons, protons, neutrons are energy. Therefore, this is energy. Then this is energy, this is energy, this is energy. Your body is energy. Your chair is energy. This entire Dhamma hall is energy. Then this area is energy. This country is energy. This region is energy. And this continent is energy. This world is energy. All the world, all type of worlds are energy. Entire universe is energy. Nature is energy. Did you understand that? And that is energy. Then energy has a characteristic, which is energy is neutral. It is neutral. It doesn't have any tendency to create anything. Therefore, there is no such thing called thing in this world. If energy doesn't have a plan, just try to understand this. Okay, you have those building blocks pieces with you. You have those pieces. If you don't have a plan, can you create something? If you don't have a plan, first of all, you should have a plan, essentially. Then you should know the shape of a bike. Then you can create a bike. But nature doesn't have that plan, essentially. That's why this is not an object. This is only an effect. Because a plan is created in the mind. Did you get that? The plan is created in the mind. Which mind? The ignorant mind. Because in the ignorant mind believes that everything is nitya, sukha, atta. Therefore, this entire world is created by the ignorant mind. That's why you have a shape. This is not natural. You have a shape now. Because the mind believes that everything is an entity. If something is an entity, it should have a shape. Now, it believes that it has the world has a shape. Therefore, each and every object has a shape. Then, the mind uses attraction force to attract energy to make that shape. If we consider energy as small particles, let's assume that energy as small particles, but these particles are neutral. If these particles are neutral, then you have to apply extra attraction force for them to be unified. Otherwise, they are not attracted to each other. You have to apply that attraction force. Attachment produces that energy. Ignorance produces the plan. Attachment produces the energy or the force. Then, according to the plan, energy is attracted and be unified. When I say unified, actually it's not fixed, but now it creates or it manifests an effect. That's why the Buddha said, this is not sukha, this is dukkha. This is not one object. This is an effect. Energy is anicca, which means energy is neutral. It doesn't have a tendency to create anything. To create anything means the world doesn't have something called thing. The mind has created it because of those views, wrong views. That's why I told you the world is created by wrong views. The world is created by the ignorant mind. All the shapes. This pen has this shape due to a mental image of the ignorant mind. Only the ignorant mind can create that mental image as vexation, because it believes that it is an entity. Only the ignorant mind can believe that. Therefore, the ignorant mind can create shapes. Now, the shape is created by the ignorant mind, and energy is attracted. I would say energy is attracted, which means those energy particles. These energy particles are attracted due to attachment. That is the attraction force. Therefore, now you have shapes, but they are not shapes, they are not objects, they are effects. Because even though they are attracted, they are still neutral, essentially. They are attracted due to external force, which is created by attachment. Can you understand what I said? They are attracted and created a shape, but it's not a shape. Actually, it created an effect. We will say created an effect, but still these particles are neutral because they are anicca. But due to attraction forces, they are attracted to each other, but they are neutral. When you cancel these attraction forces, now they will move freely. They will come to, I can't say come to, they are the same. They are the same. Because you can't change. You can create external force. You can create an external force, but you can't change nature. You can create attachment. By doing that, you can create an attraction force, but you can't create or you can't destroy natural attributes of nature. Therefore, it stays neutral. It stays neutral all the time. The energy stays neutral. That's neutral. You can make them together, but it's neutral. Now here, energy is here, but it is neutral. Due to attraction forces, they are here. When we cancel attraction force, then it stays the same. Same means by applying an attraction force, you can't change its attribute. That is anicca. Anyway, it's anicca. If energy is anicca, this must be dukkha and this must be anatta. When you understand that, then you won't have attachment. Attachment is created when the mind thinks that everything is an entity and special. You can feel that. When something is special, you want to see. You want to experience when something is special. When you came to the monastery, perhaps you want to meet Guru Hamdru. Why? Why? When you come to the monastery, why do you want to meet Guru Hamdru? There are 200 monks here. Why do you want to see Guru Hamdru? Why do you want to offer something to Guru Hamdru? That means actually you want to experience something with Guru Hamdru. Why? Because it's special. There are many trees in the world. And why do you go to Sri Mahabodhi in Anuradhapura? Because it's so special. You want to experience. When something is special, you want to experience. There's a restaurant. They have delicious food. That means, oh, it's special. Because they have delicious food. Then delicious food, yes, special. You can make something special by doing that. Delicious food. Then that's special. Then you want to experience it. That's why people advertise their things. They use the same thing. Perhaps all these things are made in China, but different names. In the same factory, but different names. This is something and this is something. But when they advertise, they use some techniques to show that this is so special to you. You are waiting for that because you believe that everything is special and unique. Everything is separated. Everything is an entity, and therefore now you want to experience those entities. Then when they say that this is so special, and this in an advertisement you can see that these cows are so special. Then you are going that because by saying something they can say that these cows are so special. They eat special grass. Then you feel that, oh, then it's special. Let me buy. And we know that they collect milk from villagers. And they make milk powder or something like that. Special. You bought things that were special. You were deceived, ladies and gentlemen, but you have the environment to be deceived because of Nitya Sukhatha views. Therefore, anyone can make you a fool. Any fool can make you a fool. Can you imagine that? If a fool can be fooled by a fool, what a fool he is. It happened due to this. You are ready to be deceived. Anyone can deceive. Then if someone talks about a beautiful something, that's special. These adjectives add speciality to something that is special. Uniqueness. She's so beautiful. Let me see her. So beautiful. That's why you use these words. If you want to sell something, you use these words all the time. And you use your education. Actually, you want to be educated. Why? You wanted to be educated. Reason? Because you wanted to feel unique, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes you want to do a different degree. Anyway, you have a natural tendency to make yourself a different person because of the ego. That's why you have a separate name, different name. You like different. You like to use a different name. Let's assume that everyone is Sujata. Sujata, 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 Sujata. Sujata. Do you like? Perhaps not. Then we had to use Sujata 1. You need a different name, a unique name. You love it. Your house must be different. That's why you pay for new and unique architectural designs. You need them. Then you can feel that you are so different. And you spend a lot for that. You just needed a shelter over your head. But you created a mansion that is different to others. Then you felt that you are so different. You will do this forever, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't understand this, if you don't practice, and if you don't free yourself by understanding the Dhamma, the truth, you will do this forever. We will witness it. And tomorrow when you go for shopping, you will buy different things to make yourself different, to make yourself feel so different. Can you imagine what happened to human beings, essentially? Actually, you are wasting time. You waste your time, ladies and gentlemen. You waste your time. Actually, not time. Actually, you waste your life. You waste your life. I'm sorry to say these things. I know these things are these things are offensive, but let me tell the truth. So you're wasting your time. That means you're wasting your life. You haven't acquired anything so far because you wanted to change the universe. You can't, because those characteristics are fixed. You can't change it. Perhaps you think that you have changed it, but that's an illusion. This is anicca, and it will be anicca forever. You can't make it nicca. But you will perceive this one as nicca. Then again you will expect nicca objects over and over again. Actually, this is a vicious cycle. You can see that because when you experience the ego, when you experience the ego and a nitya sukhatta flower, then you feel that, or you learn from it that the world is nitya sukhatta because you experienced it, ladies and gentlemen. When you see this, you experience a nitya sukha atta duster, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, your ignorance will be strengthened because you experienced it. You experience the ego. That means you experience that you are so unique and this is so unique. Each time you experience two things that are unique. One is this, the other one is this. I am unique, the flower is unique. then everything is unique, then it will go to this and strengthen the ignorance. Therefore, now God doesn't have to do anything. Ishwar doesn't have to do anything. You can do your own thing, ladies and gentlemen. When you experience these two, it will strengthen ignorance. Then this starts again. By living in this world, you can't attain Nibbana. Because this process has its own energy to continue. You can live 1,000,000 eons, but still you will feel the same. You will feel Nityasukhatha, Nityasukhatha, Nityasukhatha. Then you will expect it. Attachment will be created. Then vexation will be created. Then safety mechanism will be activated. Then you will experience Nityasukhatha, that illusory Nityasukhatha. But you will see the flower and you will feel yourself. Then a Nityasukhatha flower exists and the ego exists. That means everything is unique, everything is special, everything is an entity, everything is Nitya. Again, it comes to this. That's why. Actually, now perhaps you are in your 80s, you are in your 70s, 50s, 40s, but still you perceive the same thing because of Nityasukhatha. Then you need Anicca Dukkha Anatta. Then you need to practice Anicca Dukkha Anatta. When you start practicing, actually it will be normal. But at the beginning, it will be so hard. You had to force yourself to apply. But when you start applying it, you will apply it continuously. Because that's the truth. Now, actually, I can't explain about Nityasukhatha, ladies and gentlemen. Can you imagine that? What happened to me? Huh? In the past, I didn't know about Anicca Dukkha Anatta. I only knew about Nityasukhatha. But now, I can't find any object which has the characteristics of Nityasukhatha. That's why you also experience the same. I didn't do anything different or anything special. Listen, I'm not special. And I didn't apply anything special. I only listened to my teachers. That's it. I only listened to the Buddha. I listened to the Buddha, ladies and gentlemen, and I did it because I wanted to do this. I didn't pretend like some. Sorry. But I wanted to do it. Therefore, I did it. And I'm still doing it. And I enjoy it. No one is there to force me to practice the path. Practice, practice, practice. No one is there. I don't want anyone. If someone forces me to practice, then I should be afraid. That means I don't practice. No, I practice. I practice. I want you to practice. When you practice, you will realize these things. This is the truth, after all. We don't have to create anything and practice. This is the truth. And we can understand that it is truth because modern science helps us to understand this. Luckily, we know about electron, proton, neutrons. We know that. Therefore, now we can imagine. But in the Buddha's era, that's the reason perhaps the Buddha didn't talk about electrons, protons, neutrons. And he talked about 4 basic elements. At that time, perhaps they were talking about that, 4 basic elements. But now we can talk about electrons, protons, neutrons, as well as 4 basic elements. Perhaps you can understand 4 basic elements, but we can understand electrons, protons, neutrons. And from that we will know this looks like one whole object, but we know that this has atoms because we have learned. And scientists have seen them. Therefore, we can believe. I want you to practice anicca. Everything is anicca. And dukkha. Especially you can practice dukkha. When you say this, you just need to think that this is a dukkha. This is not a sukha. It looks like a sukha, but it's a dukkha. That's why you need wisdom to see this as a dukkha, because it looks like a sukha. Therefore, if you don't have the wisdom, then you will see a sukha. If you see this one, if you experience this one with wisdom, then you will see dukkha. I want you to see dukkha. If something is dukkha, you should know that nothing is special. Nothing is unique. If it is dukkha, it's an effect. If it is an effect, nothing is special. But now when you see your daughter, when you see your son, then you feel so special. Now they are so special to you. The reason? You see Nicca Sukha, you see your Nicca Sukha son. If you can see your Anicca Dukkha Anatta son, then everyone is the same. Your son will be seen. Because that happened with the help of your eyes. Eyes never deceive you. The mind deceives you because eyes can't be ignorant, but the mind can be ignorant. Therefore, your mind always, your ignorant mind always deceives you. Your eyes show you the truth, but just after, in this process, just after eyes, the mind takes the baton. Therefore, if the mind is ignorant, whatever the eyes take in is defiled. Are you ready to practice? That's it. Now, look, I showed you the path again. Next week, I will show you the path. A week after, I'll show you the path. One day, you will practice. From that day onwards, you will win. Until that, you will just practice. Actually, you don't have to come to the monastery to practice. The only problem is you don't practice. If you practice, you don't have to come to the monastery. You don't practice. That's why you have to be in the monastery. Then everyone will practice and you will see and you will be guided. But when you are at home, you will do whatever you want, Lesachan. When you want to eat, you will eat. When you want to dance, you will dance. No one is there to stop you. No one is there to show you the path. Because each time when you are vexed, you need the Buddha. You have to say Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Not the words I'm talking about. Whenever you are vexed, whenever you want to eat something, but not to satisfy your hunger, just to eat something to satisfy your tongue, which means your mind, then if you want to eat something, then you should want Buddha at that time. Buddha means not the Buddha, the person. You need the wisdom. If you don't have wisdom, then you will See these illusions, and you will make your life a hell, because you will have to use them over and over again. You need the Buddha. That's why we ask you to associate with Mahasangha. They will show you the Buddha whenever you need. Otherwise, at least try. That's the thing. Try to practice. It's so easy. Try to practice. Say this and practice. When you hear a sound, practice. When you hear a sound, then it should be a dukkha. It can't be a sukha. Practice. If you want, you can say Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, those 5 parts, 5 aggregates of the mind, then you can use them. Then individually you can think about that. Or at least you can think about these objects first. Let's start with this. To understand Nicca Sukhatha and Anicca Dukkha Anatta. Understand Nicca Sukhatha and realize that it is not the way, and it is completely wrong. And Anicca Dukkha Anatta is the correct way and correct characteristics of nature. Then when you understand about nature, then you will be nature. When you are nature, then no one can make you suffer, because you are nature. Then you won't acquire things, because you are nature. You won't be suffering from inferiority complex. But now you are suffering from inferiority complex, because you feel that you are a little human being because of the ego. But you are nature. You don't feel that. You are universe. You are the universe, ladies and gentlemen. You are the universe. You are nature, but you don't feel that. Therefore, you only feel a tiny human being. Therefore, now this is the universe, and you feel that you are a tiny human being here. Then you feel so inferior. Therefore, you try to acquire everything towards you to be the universe. Then you buy this land, and this land, and now Sri Lanka is yours. Then you go to India, then you buy it, and America and England, and that's why you always say that I have something in England, I have something in America, I have a business in India, I have a business in New Zealand. You like to say these things. Then you feel that I am everywhere. Of course, you are, ladies and gentlemen. You can be. Just practice this. Then one day you can say that you are nature. If you are nature, why do you want a small car? If you are nature, have you seen nature ride a car? Nature is nature, ladies and gentlemen. Try to be nature. I don't have words to explain. Imagine that one day you feel that you are nature. You wake up early in the morning and you feel that you are nature. Then that means you don't have any expectation. Everything is okay for you. You love everything, everyone. You won't feel any difference. Just imagine that. You love everyone. You see rabbits, you see lions, and you see elephants, human beings, gods, demons, ghosts, worms, trees, waterfalls. If you were God, how would you feel? This is the path to hell, and the reverse, which means if you can eradicate ignorance, that is the path to heaven. Then you can become God. Look, when you are sad, God never cares about that. Yes or no? I'm not insulting, but yes or no? Because God is nature, ladies and gentlemen. When you are happy, that's natural. When you are sad, that's natural. If something is natural, nature doesn't want to change it. Therefore, if you have 4 limbs, nature is okay with that. If you have only 2 limbs, still nature is okay with that. Because nature is nature. Try to become nature. You are nature. Accept it fully, then you will be nature. We will help you to do that, but you have to practice. Again, I can show you the light. You are the ship and the captain. You decide what to do. I'll see you next week. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all. Thank you.